Hello everybody, I'm Amy the Amazonian, and in this video I'm going to be talking about a brand new commander for Modern Horizons 3, the Necrobloom. Modern Horizons 3 is now available in Arena, and you can play it in Timeless, Historic, and Brawl. The Necrobloom is an Abzan landfall commander, and if a land enters the battlefield, you either get a plant token, or you get a zombie token if you have 7 or more differently named lands. So you'll notice I have a lot of differently named lands in this deck. It also gives land cards in your graveyard Dredge too, so if you want to make sure you're getting lands into play every turn, you can choose to mill the top 2 cards of your deck and put a land from your graveyard back into your hand instead of drawing your card per turn. This means that you can guarantee hitting your landfalls, not just for the Necrobloom, but for other cards like Bristly Bill, and you can fill up your graveyard for cards like Aftermath Analyst. There's a lot of cards that actually work very well directly with the Necrobloom because they care about getting lands into play and lands into the graveyard at the same time, like the Gitrog monster, or Ren and 7, or 6, Ren's former partner. There are so many great cards that work well with the Necrobloom, and they're all very well supported by the strong pieces of ramp and removal that happen to be available in white, black, and green. So we're going to take the Necrobloom into the Brawl queue, and we're going to make a lot of zombies. Our opponent is playing Nadu Winged Wisdom. I'm not that surprised to see so many Nadus today because Nadu is a very, very strong card. It allows you to get ramp, it allows you to protect your commander, and it doesn't just get you ramp, it can get you a lot of extra mana each turn. I can also get extra mana, though, by using turn 1 ramp with Llanowar Elves. Yay! Into a turn 2 ramp with Nissa. If I can get ahead of them, then they're less likely to be able to counter like our commander and our other key spells. But even if they do, I have a reanimate ready. Nissa also can get all of the elves and elementals out of my deck. We have one elemental that actually doubles our landfalls and lets us replay like lands from our graveyard, which makes our dredges not as necessary for protecting Llanowar Elf. And they're playing Bonesaw, so they are looking to get, I guess, just a lot of activations off of these equipment so they can trigger Nadu. Each time you go to equip one of your creatures, it is a targeted ability, and those targeted abilities will in turn potentially get you more mana so you can move the equipment around again. Leather armor is technically the only free equipment, like free to equip equipment that we have in Arena, without reducing costs of abilities, but you can only do it once per turn. But Bonesaw, though, you can scooch Bonesaw around as long as you have mana for it. And since Nadu allows each of the creatures to trigger twice, that could go for a pretty long way. Instead of moving that around, they held this up. This could be a counter spell? Could be a mount spell, too. I could just grab a basic here. I will. I have a plan. And the plan is, see what I get. Okay, I got Oracle. I was going to go for Elesh Norn because it would turn off their landfall, because there are a bunch of landfall abilities that are great with Nadu. But I really like hitting this Oracle here. Let's see if they counter it. They don't. A Nissa on top. Nice. This Nissa is pretty easy for them to attack. They countering Necrobloom? No, I don't know what these two mana could just be a protective spell. Something that like make your creature indestructible or gives it hexproof. Ooh, nice. Curiosity. If they deal combat damage to us with Nadu, they will now draw a card. I think if they didn't counter any of these, I don't have to worry that much about a counter spell. So I can throw down Elesh Norn. If it does get countered, we have the Reanimate. We also have this Nissa, who I could use to protect. I could use to bring something back. Ideally, I'm getting this Nissa down. I'm plussing her. And then she is protected well enough that she can -6 the next turn to get me landfall, draw a card forever. It's the dream. Nice brainstorm. Scooching around all that equipment. Nadu, by the way, just like us, takes a lot of game actions in a lot of turns because landfall decks, Nadu with all these different abilities. There's a lot going on. So now that I do have something with landfall, so I think we have to expedite the Elesh Norn coming into play. Oh, the audacity! Giving The Llanowar Elf. +2/+0 and trample. Would I rather dredge or draw? I want to draw. I can play lands off the top of my deck. There's no land on top of my deck. How awful. Okay, I'll just play this land then. Phyrexian Tower. I will float some white mana. Use it to play Elesh Norn. I should have manually tapped there, so I wouldn't have to sacrifice something for black mana. Okay, didn't get countered. And now our landfall is going to trigger twice. Which is great, because it means Nissa's going to make a lot of mana for me. Ooh, Aftermath Analyst. Okay, wait. 1, 2... How many lands do I have in graveyard? I'll have at least 2. I'm going to do this. Aftermath Analyst is going to mill me. A brainstorming in response. Remember, their landfalls don't happen. Elesh Norn is going to stop them. Doubles mine, halves theirs. Yeah, they would have just been able to attack this Nissa, so I wouldn't be able to get to the ult. So we're going to mill 6. We did get a bunch of lands in the graveyard, so I'm going to sacrifice this plant token to get 4 mana, so I could sacrifice the Aftermath Analyst. Yeah, you're looking at the stuff that's going on. You have a Stifle. You could stifle this. Tail's End. No, they don't. So we're going to get a lot of mana. A lot of mana. Perhaps an excess of mana. And I'll just make lots of mana in all of these colors. Looking at the things I have to reanimate. I do have this Ancient Green Warden. That would, again, double my triggers. I could reanimate that. It would also give me a creature with reach. So I'm going to do that. I know I could also play the Analyst again, hoping to hit at least 2 lands, since I would have enough mana to sacrifice it, to try to get enough triggers to essentially do this again. I'm just not going to risk that. I get to untap here. I'll untap Beseju. If I wanted to go for more landfall, I could have untapped a fetch land there. And I will attack with the Beseju. Because why not? We love having lands in our graveyard. If you want to trade with it, you can. I'm trying to think of what other elves and elementals we have left in our deck. That's an elf. That's an elemental. There's probably at least one. Ooh, Tyvar Stand to make an indestructible Nadu. And they kill our land. Oh no, it's in the graveyard, where I can play it again. They don't get landfall. Thank you, Elesh Norn. They could scooch these around. They still get all these triggered abilities. Windswept Heath, another fetch land. They may have a Cyclonic Rift or similar. They do. They have a single permanent bounce. They're bouncing Elesh Norn back into my hand. That will slow me down, and it will get them those landfalls off the 2 fetch lands, the Windswept Heath and the Fabled Passage. Thankfully, Ancient Green Warden also has reach. Will protect my Nissa, so I can get landfall, draw a card, maybe draw 2 cards. I'm very happy with how this deck performs against Nadu. I think I win about half of the games against Nadu, and a lot of that's just because we're both trying to ramp. They're trying to do their, like, cool, funky combos, but sometimes Golgari is just able to generate a lot of value, and the addition of white into this deck gives us access to the hate pieces like Elesh Norn and Gitrog and Thalia. Nice, but Duplimancy lets them go off. If they cast a spell targeting Nadu or another one of their creatures, they will actually make a copy of that creature. All right, so what mana do you have up right now? They have 1 blue and 1 green up. Nadu? I don't think they realized this has reach, despite the giant glowing arrow. Not that it matters. We have a lot of zombies. We're going to have even more. We're going to be drawing cards. That's going to be game. GG Nadu. It's Necrobloom versus Necrobloom. I have only 2 mana here and no ramp. So we're going to mulligan, and I do like this hand a lot more because it has 2 lands, one of which is a fetch land, one of which allows me to scry, one of which is a surveil land. I put that in the graveyard. And I also have Explore and the Jet Collector. These are all so nice together because they let me put more things into the graveyard, which means that the Jet Collector will make me a Moxen faster. And all of that is good. I'm playing the Rage River Thicket there just because the other ones would come into play untapped. Well, this one will come into play tapped no matter what. Tater Wayfinder, they are milling themselves. Putting a land from among the milled cards into their hand. And they dropped Extinction Event, Fill the Profane, and a Forest. Ooh, and then a Flare of Cultivation to get the ultimate amount of ramp, sacrificing their creature so they can cultivate. Land into play, land into hand. I currently have 2 cards in graveyard. I'm going to risk trying to go for 4 here. So I'm going to use this Marsh Flats to get the Golgari Surveil land. Right there, the Underground Mortuary. And I'm going to use it to put that forest in a graveyard. I now have 4 different cards in my graveyard. So I get a Mox Jet. Nice! And now if a creature ends up in my graveyard, like through dredge or being killed, I'll be able to reanimate it with a finality counter. Hi, Necrobloom. If I play Elesh Norn here, their Necrobloom won't do anything. But I could also just kill their Necrobloom. So I'll kill their Necrobloom. There is no Necrobloom. There's never been a Necrobloom. Only my Necrobloom can exist. This will also get me a land next turn, which I'm just so excited about. I love having more lands than my opponent. I'm not addicted to ramp. Okay, might be. I'm going to put that in Dotha Triome to the bottom of my deck because that's actually the land I want to get with Binding the Old Gods. It comes into play tapped, and this already brings things into play tapped. It gets any forest, and a Triome counts as a forest if it has a green in its various tappable manas. Ooh, Glimpse of the Core. They're getting a forest. Now they have more lands than me. Darn. Okay, in Dotha Triome. And the Necrobloom! We have 7 differently named lands, so we got our first zombie in play. Here comes their Necrobloom. And they also have 7 differently named lands. 8, actually, so they get a land. Malevolent Rumble puts more things in their graveyard and gets them a spawn. They have a Craterhoof Behemoth. That is dangerous. I could either dredge or draw. I'm going to choose to draw here. And I'm going to play Elesh Norn, because it stops the Craterhoof Behemoth from giving a buff to all those creatures. Elesh Norn also is going to double our landfall and make our opponent not have landfall. Lands are permanents entering the battlefield and triggering abilities, which is good for us and our Necrobloom, and bad for them and their Necrobloom. They're choosing to dredge, getting the Dust Bowl back. That allows them to sacrifice lands to destroy my lands. Elesh Norn says, no landfall for you. I'm taking a look at some of the cards in their graveyard. Gotta get that inspiration for cards to put in my own deck. No landfall. Could still be a board wipe, though. Or Dance of the Tumbleweed, which gets them a basic land or a desert and a 10/10 elemental. Nice. Yeah, that's a big creature. I could choose to dredge or draw. I'm going to choose to draw since I still have a land in hand. And I'll start by drawing another card with Spelunking. It's going to trigger twice. Thanks, Elesh Norn. I'm actually going to choose to dredge on one of them. Putting a land into play. Do I want to dredge again? I'll just draw. I'm like thinking about like, ooh, I could dredge to put more creatures in my graveyard to potentially reanimate with Jet Collector. Playing Vona. Vona is going to trigger twice, allowing me to destroy 2... Well, actually, just only allowing me to destroy Necrobloom because it's only non-token permanents. I would love a copy of their Necrobloom. Don't ask me what I'm doing with it. It's just, in case mine dies, now I'll have another Necrobloom. And it will be better. Bigger, faster, and stronger. I don't get much damage in if I attack here, so I'll just leave everybody back and get ready to crack open these 2 fetch lands to make 4 more zombies on their turn. Here comes Necrobloom. Again, does not do much except for dredge. Ooh, and Quest for the Necropolis. This is a 6-mana reanimation spell, but it can't get quest counters so long as Elesh Norn is in play. Splendid Reclamation, though, is going to bring every single land from their graveyard back into play. If they were getting landfall triggers there, that could have won them the game. Thankfully, no landfall triggers. Thank you, Elesh Norn. You are a pain in the butt. Since I have Spelunking, these can all enter untapped. Not that I'm using their mana for anything. They can. All these beautiful untapped non-basics. And how much damage do I have? Enough, I feel. I'm just going to draw. Nice, Revitalizing Repast. That could be 1 more damage if I need it. Also indestructible. That has Menace. And right there we have 26 damage? A lethal amount of damage. GG, fellow Necrobloom. Renzo, Crooked Jailer. A crime commander. Likes to heist from your library and then cast your stolen spells for free. This hand doesn't really have ramp in it. It has Azusa, but it does have good removal. And this removal could be used to get rid of their, I assume, mana acceleration while we try to get ourselves set up. Azusa needs access to lands to play extra lands, so hopefully we will find something that allows us to, like, play lands from our graveyard. So we can just keep recasting fetch lands until we get all of the fetchable cards out of our deck. Hello there, turn 1 Ragavan. I have an answer to a turn 1 Ragavan. It is called Abrupt Decay. I probably actually should have shocked in the Overgrown Tomb because I just realized I don't have any other white sources in my hand. That's fine. You're shocking in Blood Crypt. Going for Mind Stone. Do you mind? And I could either Azusa, and remember, I don't have any lands to replay from the graveyard, or I could just Terra Asunder. Without access to more lands, I don't think I want the Azusa right here. So I'm going to get rid of their Mind Stone, because they need to ramp to get to Grenzo. And there's only so much ramp available in Rakdos colors. Treasures, mana rocks, those are really the only things they've got. And of course, I guess, lands. Do lands count? I don't know if lands count. I'm going to play Conduit of Worlds here because I think that they're very likely to be able to kill Pock before I can get an extra land out of them. It's the same issue if I had the mana to play my commander and tried to play that. Crucius discards a card from hand and can find something that costs more or less. They're getting rid of a board wipe and getting something that costs less. Okay, fair. Here comes Pock. We're going to use Pock to double this. I'll have the first one name... You're a human monk? I'll have the first one say Plant, so now I can play Necrobloom. And the second one can name... maybe Druid. We have a lot of Druids in our deck. And Shamans, and Humans. Actually, we even have Zombies. Oh, they're killing Pock. Well, that just makes me sad. Maybe I should say something mean on this other one. Or I'll just say Plant again. 2 plants now. I'll be able to replay Pock from the graveyard using Conduit of Worlds if I don't have something from hand I want to cast. But, like, I just need 1 other black or red mana. Or black or red. Black or green mana to cast Casualties of War. Oh, they stole my Craterhoof Behemoth using Curse of Hospitality. They also have enough mana for Grenzo next turn. And I think killing Grenzo is my priority over killing Crucius. I could play Necrobloom, or we could make use of the graveyard here. I can only cast 1 permanent in the turn, if I use Conduit of Worlds, but that's all I need. Clock's going to come into play, going to double up my lands, give us the mana for Casualties of War, and then we set up and start getting zombies out of Necrobloom next turn. GG, Grenzo. Danitha, new Benalia's Light. I'm actually trying to remember what this Danitha does. I believe she lets you cast auras and equipments from the graveyard. That's exactly what she does. Once during each of your turns, you can cast an aura and equipment spell from your graveyard. Nice. I'm going to Thoughtseize you. And I will try not to put an aura or equipment in their graveyard because they can just recast those. That's a board wipe. That's also a board wipe. That's ramp. I'm going to drop your Mind Stone. I really don't like that you have 2 Settle the Wreckages in your hand, or Settle Wreckage into Fumigate. Are you planning on making Danitha indestructible? Maybe? Maybe they're just playing her as like a Selesnya card to confuse your opponents. I've got a Explorer here, so I will explore. I've already paid quite a bit of life during this game between the Fetch Land, the Shock Land, and the Thoughtseize. Classic. I want to Abrupt Decay the Rope? No, because they could sacrifice it to draw a card. I could either play Necrobloom here, or 6. I like 6. I'll play 6. Six with Necrobloom is a really great combo, since you can dredge cards to get other just permanent spells from your graveyard cast, because they all will have Retrace. The Dredge Retrace combo is very good. I have a feeling that's why 6 and Necrobloom were printed in the same set. Forest. Forest. Do you have more lands? They do! It's a Canopy Vista. And they can use Gift of Paradise to now have this tap for 2 different mana. Crack open the Misty Rainforest to grab a Surveil land. I don't think I need double white, but I would like double green for Nissa Vital Force. It's a Tireless Provisioner. Landfall stuff. I'm gonna put that in the graveyard. Got a land. That actually means I could use this with the Retrace. But I'm going to try to see if I have a land on top. I do, but it's a land that would come in tap. And my big thing here is I want to slow down their ramp. So I'm going to just play the land I have in hand. And I'm going to Abrupt Decay this. Attacking with 6. We already know that there's a land, so I'm going to be able to put that into my hand. Nice! And now I can cast any of these with Retrace. We know we're getting another land in hand if we just draw here too. Sigarda's Aid, that lets them cast auras and equipments with Flash and automatically equip them. It's pretty good for them. I'm going to go for a Mythweaver Paw, dropping this Blooming Marsh. Cast that from the graveyard. It is going to make a copy of this Lush Portico. I'm going to put the territory color in the graveyard. Marius Call, I will also put in the graveyard. And now I can just attack in, so I will. We know there's a land on top, which means we'll get at least 1 land into hand. Oh, I'll take a Cavern of Souls. Sure, why not? I already have all of my colors that I need for any spell in my deck. So now Danitha can recast Rope or Gift of Paradise. I guess they could even do it at instant speed. Or are you only on your turn? Okay, so it's only once during each of your turns. So they could do this at instant speed on their turn, or they could hold back for Settle the Wreckage, because that does cost 4 mana. And they probably don't want to attack, because Hawk is big. I like that we have a Casualties of War. I could cast this Casualties of War next turn. They'll probably leave if I do. So instead, we'll Necrobloom. Gives them 2 mana. Kenris Transformation. Nice. They're turning Hawk into a 3/3. Maybe I will use our Casualties of War. Destroying an enchantment. A land that has an enchantment on it. A creature. Or do we want to be, blooming? I want to play my commander. I know there's a board wipe. I really want to use the cards that I have. Tireless Provisioner. I'm going to drop this Cavern of Souls in the graveyard. I'm going to attack in with each of these. Ooh, did mill land, and there wasn't a land on top during any, but that's 4 non-lands in a row, so I don't get the landfall off Necrobloom or Tireless Provisioner. They might feel pressured to fumigate, though. Would you like to kill your commander? Maybe cast the rope first? Well, I guess they would need another land then. They can automatically equip the rope. And they did! Alright, so I'm going to dredge here. I'm going to grab Misty Rainforest. Ooh, there's a land on top. I'm going to make copies of it. No, wait, because Hawk is quiet. Hawk has been turned into an elk. I'll get a treasure out of it. Perfect. This allows me to play extra lands. Kind of nice. But I really want to make their board wipe do a little less. An artifact, an enchantment, a creature, a land, an artifact, a creature, an enchantment. Or do I want to hit the enchantment here? A land. No, I want to hit all of their stuff. So they could flash out and order an equipment from their hand. And they're going to just cast that Settle the Wreckage to say, oh no! There's nothing I can do about it. And there's something I can do. I can attack in. Do a lot of damage. GG, Danitha. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. Nadu is a very good value commander if you're playing in Simic colors. It gets you lands or card advantage if your creatures are targeted by spells or abilities, including ones that you control, which adds up to a whole lot of extra lands in play and extra spells in hand. Oh, Eerie Ultimatum, you are not a land, and I need another land, since I only have 2 lands in this opening hand. If you're wondering why I kept it, though, the combination of 6, White of the Reliquary, and our commander, Necrobloom, is way too good for me to pass up. Thankfully, we got another land here. They're gonna crack open that Flooded Strand. They could counter it. There is a 1-mana counter any creature. Give them a bird. Looks like they didn't. Okay, that's cool. The sorts of spells that are really, really strong with Nadu are especially ones that give you landfall abilities, since it can put lands into play off the top of the library. Just you and I doing a little bit of landfall ramp. 2 mana now. And Ivy. Ivy is going to duplicate any single target spell. Well, if they choose to duplicate single target spells. I've got this White of the Reliquary and 6. And I'm going to attack with the white. I don't think they're going to block with Ivy. If they want to, like, go ahead. And now I'm giving myself the choice of, would I rather save the White of the Reliquary and kill the 6, or let 6 die? Let's see. Either way, Ivy's dying. I'm going to get rid of 6 because I want to make sure I have a 4th land right here. Also, it keeps my White of the Reliquary in play, which is great. I will grab Lush Portico so I can surveil, see what's on top. Nice, it's another land. 3 mana now. They're playing Nadu. And if I target Nadu, they might hit a land and be able to cast a protective spell. So what I could do instead is just go up against them. Try to out-ramp them. Or I could make it so their lands always enter tapped with Thalia and the Gitrog monster. I kind of just want to play extra lands, though. But I'm going to start with this. So Thalia and the Gitrog monster is real rude against things like Nadu because they normally get the lands into play untapped based on the targeting abilities. But they won't if Thalia and the Gitrog monster are in play unless it happens to be a basic. Yeah, see that? Argoth comes in tapped. Lava Spur Boots, that does allow them to target their creature. Also give it haste and +1/+1 ward 1. Sink into Stupor. It's sort of a land, but it doesn't count. For the purpose of Nadu, it is not a land. For the purpose of Necrobloom's Dredge, it is not a land. For the purpose of landfall, it's a land, though. They've targeted Nadu again with the boots, finding Might of the Masses. Would you like to attack in? You're not blocking my Thalia. Nice. I didn't get a land, but I got something that gets me 2 lands. And it also has reach. So we're going to use this Vorinclex here to get a couple buddies. Let's go for a Temple Garden and then Ndatha Triome. Play one of those. I can play an extra land per turn because of Thalian the Gitrog monster. I get to sacrifice a land here. I'm going to sacrifice the Command Tower because I have a feeling I'll be able to play it again from the graveyard. And swing in. Another thing I could have done that turn is get 2 lands that come in untapped and then tear asunder the Lava Spur Boots to cut them off from this recurable ability. They put the boots on Nadu, who's already wearing the boots. Are you going to do it again? Your polluted delta did come in tapped. Target Nadu again and find Consuming Tide. That actually bounces all but 1 permanent. Well, non-land permanent. We know about Might of the Masses. That would give this just +1/+1, and it wouldn't get them a trigger. Ooh, time for the Necro Bloom. Necro Bloom, going to make a zombie. I'm also going to I'm not even attacking him with the white. I'm just going to sacrifice this zombie to get another land into play. Who do I want? I'm thinking about a fetch land, or maybe, ooh, an animatable land. Restless Cottage, that's a good one. Of turning zombies into more zombies. Attacking with both Thalian the Gitrog and Vorinclex. I'm going to sacrifice the zombie to Thalian the Gitrog monster. And we can choose to dredge instead of draw. Hey, that Windswept Heath is looking pretty good to me. I'll take it. High bar to stand. So they're going to make Nadu indestructible. And a little bit stronger. Now, here's a question. Are they going to block Vorinclex or Thalian the Gitrog monster? This has the first strike death touch, so it would still be bested by this. This works out great for us. So I'm going to tear asunder the boots. It's going to lose 1 power. And it doesn't kill Vorinclex. It doesn't die. But it doesn't beat us in combat. Windswept Heath gets me another landfall trigger for the Necro Bloom. And I can crack it again on their turn. We have so much more board presence. Like, yeah, you can Consuming Tide me. That's okay. Of these cards, I'd probably keep Thalia and the Gitrog monster. Or Necro Bloom to get another landfall. I think I'm going to go with Thalia and the Gitrog monster. Everything else goes into hand. If I was worried about them swinging in for lethal here, I would have kept probably Vorinclex as a reach blocker if I needed to block. Or something else. But I feel like making their lands, non-basic lands, come in tapped is a really great way to hinder the ability. They could also sink into Stupor here. Ooh, no, they're targeting this with the Otter. I actually really love this Otter. It's a creature. It's got prowess. It has a difficulty in being blocked. Puts counters on things, and it can trigger Nadu multiple times in a turn. I also made a Nadu deck when Modern Horizons 3 came out. It's strong. But I have about a 50-50 win rate with my Necro Bloom deck against Nadu. It turns out that Landfall is good against Landfall. Oh no! They paid 2 life to bolt this in, or shock it in! But the Thalian the Gitrog monster says, no, your non-basics are tapped. So let's see, I have 1 land. I have 8 damage here. I wonder if I could get enough, or a little more. I could Cityscape Leveler and blast Nadu, since they are completely tapped out. That actually sounds really fun. How much mana do you cost? We're 8 mana. So I'm going to start with Oracle of Moldiah. That is a land, but it's a land that comes in tapped. Ooh, that's another land. Getting more lands out of my deck. I have so many lands. This allows me to play even more lands. Here's one right now. I've done it. I've played a land. I'll sacrifice the Forsaken Crossroads. Ooh, I guess I could play the White of the Reliquary here. Just have a bigger creature. I'm, like, looking at what they've got. Yeah, I'm going to upcycle the Oracle for White of the Reliquary. I think this is my best way of trying to get lethal the next turn, even though it gets rid of a really good card for me. Alright, Nadu. Are you going to try to kill me through my Vorinclex? Your blockers ain't so good at blocking. Thank you, Thalia, and the Get Rog Monster. I love that we have multiple lands-related cards in Abzan colors. Makes me happy. They could target Unctus, paying either 2 life or a blue mana. Oh, they went for 2 life when they're already at 4. Mox Amber does get them 1 more mana in green or blue. If they attack in, they'll get to loot. We know that they have 1, 2, 3. 4 mana. Oh, hey, Scurry Oak. Scurry Oak is so cute. It does have a lot of infinite combos associated with it, though. Oh, paying another 2 life. That's very brave, Unctus. You've only got 2 more life to give. You gonna risk it for the biscuit? Playing a land. We know 3 of the 4 cards in their hand because they were put into hand by Nadu. Sinister Reflections! Create a duplicate of each of up to 2 target non-token creatures you control into your hand. It's kind of nice because this one also has the spell, and because they targeted 2 things, they had a chance of getting 2 lands, but they were both non-basic, so they came in tapped. Thalia and the Get Rog Monster. A real all-star in this game. GG, Nadu. I hope seeing the Necrobloom in action helped show just how good it is to plant the seeds of destruction in Brawl. The Necrobloom is a really fun commander, and I think that this Abzan Landfall deck is a really good one to pilot and a strong one to play in the Brawl queue. I also think that it really does a good job showing off just how strong some of the new cards are together. The Necrobloom with White of the Reliquary, with 6, with the Territory color, all doing fantastic work together to put lands into graveyards and then back into your hand, let you cast things from the graveyard, and just go crazy with landfall triggers. I really enjoyed getting to play this deck. I actually played it for about 4 hours today because I was just having such a good time playing with Necrobloom, and I hope you have fun playing it too. I have sent the deck list over to Wizards of the Coast so they could put it in the description of the video so you could check it out and see how fun it is for yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you Wizards of the Coast for asking me to make this video. If you'd like to find me on my channel, I stream at twitch.tv/Amazonian, and I also make lots of Brawl YouTube videos at youtube.com/Amazonian. I have a large series called Brawl Stars that has over 300 hours of Brawl videos. So if you like Brawl, well, come on over because you're in the right place. I also really like Brawl. Thank you so much for watching.